Call to order. Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Here.
Rob Cruz,
Present.
Amy Grantham,
Here.
Nancy Hopper,
Here.
Katie Jess,
Here.
John Prouty,
Here.
Melissa Smits.
Present. Next, could you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have the previous minutes before us. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Or is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Aye.
Rob Cruz,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Prouty,
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye. Next is add a table file, but we do not have one, so you can just scratch that off the agenda. So if there are any agenda changes, please say so. If not, could we have the pleasure of the board on approving the agenda?
I move to approve.
I move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Aye.
Rob Cruz,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Prouty,
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye. Next on our agenda, we have a special presentation. We have Mrs. Tara Boyer from Sherman Early Childhood Center. Very excited to have you here because we got Play-Doh. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for this opportunity to address the board. My name is Tara Boyer. I am the principal at Sherman Early Childhood Center, and this is my first year here in Fort Morgan, in the Fort Morgan district. So this is my year to learn about Sherman and take it all in. We are an early childhood center. The things that I've learned about Sherman are we have kindergarten and preschool. We have 2 daycare licenses within the building. I think that we are overseen by the most government regulatory people in some of the state of Colorado. We have Colorado preschool, 120 Colorado preschool slots that we share with. We share a few with Evans. This is our first year in partnering with a community resource to serve our preschoolers. The state is transitioning to universal preschool. You may or may not have heard a lot about that. I think we'll hear a little bit more once it goes through the legislature. We're not quite there yet, but I've been watching their agendas, and they're going to move that through pretty soon. And what they're talking about doing is funding preschool for every 4-year-old, not starting next year, but the year following. And so it'll be 10 hours per week for every 4-year-old. That doesn't mean that we have to take in all of the 4-year-olds. It's just that the state's going to be funding that for every 4-year-old. And we want to be a part of that. And so we're working on our quality ratings because we think that might be how we're funded. We're not sure about that yet. So keeping our ears to the ground about that, and I will definitely be letting the superintendent know what they come up with from the state. The state also funded some professional development for principals and the leadership teams that we've been taking part in all year. So we meet with other principals and leadership teams around the state and to learn about coming together and being more intentional about our instruction. Our school has amazing diversity. As a lot of you know, many of our students are learning English and learning a new culture. And all of our students are learning the school culture. So that's exciting. You have some data in front of you that I wanted to share with you. So BOY is not the boys, it's the beginning of year and middle of year. So you have some beginning of year and middle of year data to look at and compare. Just wanted to point out a couple of things. The first, sound fluency, it's the second line there. We went from, at the beginning of the year, 39% on benchmark, which means they're able to grasp the first sound fluency. 39% of our kids could do that at the beginning of the year, and now at the middle of the year, 83%. So we are making some gains. The things that we're working on now are, if you'll skip down to the PSF, which is phoneme segmentation, we're working on that, and hopefully at the end of the year we'll see that jump up. And my goal is to have some aggressive numbers for the composite score at the end of the year. So we have a lot of work to do, but we're making those gains with our students. So I was told by our teachers that I do have some pretty aggressive goals for our kindergarten, and some things that we're doing to meet those aggressive goals are to intensify instruction. I have used some ESSER funds to fund 2 additional TAs in our kindergarten classroom. My hope and thinking around that is to intensify the instruction for the kindergartners. Obviously, we can't make their day longer, so to intensify that, it's to make sure that every minute counts during their day, and one way to do that is to put more direct instruction in front of them and give them less independent time within the classroom. So that's what we're doing with those extra TAs, and my intention is to possibly increase that in the following year. Another thing is intentionality and asking why. Why are we doing the things that we do, and really understanding why we're doing the things that we do it, so that we can be more intentional in doing them. So that's the good thing about having a new principal in your building, is that you have somebody asking why. Why do we do this? Why do we do this? And I haven't been doing it for 20 years, so that's not an excuse for me. Which brings me to your handout of the Play-Doh. I think the Play-Doh illustrates my point in that if you ask why the Play-Doh, you find out that there are multiple reasons for the Play-Doh. First, it helps build the fine motor skills of our young students. The colors of this particular Play-Doh always has a purpose, and this in particular is for snow, because they were talking about snow. It has the blue glitter, and it was white. This has already been used Play-Doh, so it's like not completely white. And then, it helps sensory issues with our students. We teach them not to eat it, which is a very good life skill, not to eat things that you shouldn't. And then we use it for counting. And then I was in a kindergarten classroom earlier today and saw them using the Play-Doh to segment words, which is what we're working on right now, is phoneme segmentation. So anyway, with the stress and the anxiety that we're experiencing in the world, we're seeing those pressures manifest themselves inside our classrooms and our schools. And I'm hoping that by understanding why we do the things that we're doing and cutting out things that don't lead us to our goals and our purposes, that we can be more successful. And I think that if our teachers experience that success, that we'll see burnout diminish. So those are kind of my goals, my beliefs, just a quick rundown. So anyway, enjoy the Play-Doh. And I do have a quick video. If it works, great. If not, it's no big deal. It's just kind of a slideshow. So you can kind of see some faces at Sherman. Thank you.
Thank you. much. That
Thank
just
you.
totally made my night. That was awesome. Thank you for all that you do at Sherman. Okay, next on the agenda is the opportunity for the audience. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the board? Next, we will entertain reports. First is our high school student, Alex.
Hello, everybody. I would like to start off by congratulating our winter sports as they have all come to an end. That being said, our spring sports have launched this last week, and they seem to have a great start with some great weather until the weekend hit, of course. Coming up this month, we also have a spike ball tournament, which will be on March 9th, open for anyone at 2 o'clock. We also have our own Fort Morgan March Madness, which will be a 3-on-3 co-ed basketball tournament, and that's going to be the 24th at 4 through 6. And then the annual prom swap, where donations will be appreciated and will be during March 23rd to the 25th. And all this will also be happening at the high school. During this month, we will also be having spring break, which is going to be the 14th through the 18th, which is the upcoming week. The spring sports openers will be tennis the 8th at Thompson Valley, girls golf the 9th here at home. We have boys baseball the 10th at Brush, and then the girls soccer 10th at Frederick, and then the track meet at the 12th at home. And hope everyone has a wonderful month, okay?
Thank you. Next, we have reports from the board. I think Nancy, you have.
I'll just very quickly, February 24th and 25th was the CASB Winter Conference, and that I attended representing the district. There were several breakout sessions and keynote speakers, one of which was Autumn Herrera. She is the Teacher of the Year for the state of Colorado, and she is a finalist as well for the National Teacher of the Year in Washington, D.C. So she was a keynote speaker. We did a lot of questions with her asking about current issues, and it was really enjoyable listening to her. There was a breakout session on the redistricting of the state and that process, which was really kind of interesting. They only needed to make, I think it was just one time around in each of the areas, but they made like 43 visits to get the data and the input and several revisions to that document, so that was interesting to listen to. We also had a reception with some of the legislators on Friday evening. On Saturday, we visited the Capitol, and then I did testify on the 18th for PARA with the H. Bill 1101, which was the allowing retired educators to come back without a penalty. And then I'm continuing to participate in the Legislative Resolution Committee. Those we meet every 2 weeks. So I do think the policies or the legislative issues that are out there around education, hopefully by April, middle, we'll know where we are with education. They're trying to wrap it up a little earlier this year. So that's all I have.
Okay. Does anybody else have any reports? Because I do. This morning, the negotiations committee, which is Rob and I, met with Rob. So the Robs and I discussed starting negotiations. There's just like some teensy little things, wording in certain paragraphs that we are going to work through. And I sent some of the questions that we had and the rewording to John Farrow, our lawyer, and he's going to work on that. Once we get that contract, pretty, I will send that out to all of you, and then we will get together again with Rob and make sure everything looks good. If there's any kinds of issues, or if anybody wants to, anytime we can meet about this contract, it would have to be an executive session, which is not a big deal, and we can do that. It's not a problem, but that's just the way the process works.
And
So,
this is Rob who?
Rob Sanders would be who we met with this morning. Rob Caruth, Rob Sanders, and I, who is not a Rob, met today. So that's that, and then I just want to, since we actually have the media here today, I've already thanked some people, but I want to go thank people again in public again tonight. First of all, Randy Miller. Randy.
Hi.
Hey. Hi. Gotcha. I just want to say thank you for taking all the candidates around on Friday. That was wonderful.
Pleasure.
I want to thank the principals and especially the kids that they got to show the candidates the schools. I still think that was an awesome idea, and we did hear from the candidates that that was very well received, so thank you. I want to thank any of the community that came to the meet and greet and filled out some cards. We got some really good feedback from that. We might have wished for a little bit more participation, but we really relished what we got. I want to thank the two groups that did the interviews, the community members led by Ed Zorn and the staff members led by Jason Frasco. We very much appreciated their input and their time. They were there from 8 o'clock through 12:30, and then a lot of them came back for our afternoon session, and they also had the 2 hours of training prior to that with Randy Zila. So thank you to them. I want to give a very, 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 very huge thank you to Beth Morford, because she has gone above and beyond through this whole thing. She does phenomenal work, and she was here all day Saturday. Friday night, she's been here. So thank you very, very much. And then I want to take the opportunity to thank this board that is sitting right here. You guys may have noticed I was a teensy bit uptight about the process, but I can't even believe how well we did. We did so well, and I want the public to know that this group of people they elected kept the stakeholders in their minds. They kept their responsibilities in their minds through this entire process. The professionalism, the respect that was showed to everyone that was here was awe-inspiring. We should have had like the news media from Denver there just to say, Fort Morgan, like this is how it's done, people. So I just really want to thank you guys so much. And I am honored and proud to be sitting up here with this group. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And that's all I have to say. I'm going to shut up for quite a while now. Except that I have to say, Superintendent, would you like to give us a report?
Well, first of all, so that you know, and you talked about Bev, that's what I have to put up with every day. That kind of excellence, and it's tough, you know, but.
Before, everyone needs a Bev.
Exactly, so just to echo your thoughts on that, and a couple other things. So to give an example, Bev, one of the things I was going to talk about was you guys attending graduation. She took care of that. I think the only person she hasn't heard back yet is you, if you're going to plan on attending the graduation for the high school. Thank you that. I was ready to do a memo, but your board president already sent you guys an email that took care of that. Oh, Bev sent that memo out? Or no, the email?
No, I sent an email.
There was an email that was sent right after school. But we're
It was
good.
Mysterious Bev's.
Okay, thank you, Bev,
Oh, about
for doing that.
graduation?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was.
But I was talking about the other thing. I was talking about the other that I was gonna deal with, but you took care of that. Thank you.
Oh, I thought
The
you-
Bev bobblehead doll, there you go. But what I do have, and I'll talk a little bit, because Rena's out sick today, but on the ESSER $3, we keep going back and forth. The tougher thing is Rena will put in the thing, and they said, we need to know exact dollars, how you're gonna spend this. Well, we haven't got the bids back yet, so it's kind of the chicken and the egg theory of where we're at. But we do have everything in place. A week from today, we're gonna actually do our walkthrough with the HVAC system for the ESSER 3, basically. And then on March 30th is when we'll get the bids in, and hopefully we'll approve it probably around April 1st, so that the hope would be is they can start right away, depending on how much we can do. My fear is we won't get as much as we thought we would because of inflation and whatnot, but we'll at least have that idea by April 1st for that. A little bit on legislative. They are bringing back this year the ratings of the school. The last couple of years, schools have not been rated because of COVID. And that is more, and there's a Senate bill out there that they're kind of looking at this and what it's going to look like, but that will be coming back. Probably, we're going to be testing here shortly, and then they'll go from there and see what the ratings are going to be. And then the last couple of things that I have, I think
The student enrollment and even staff attendance has improved drastically. I think probably because the whole COVID thing has let up a little bit, and it's really made a difference, and I'm seeing a better as far as staff and student attendance from that. And we'll talk a little more as far as how even what you guys talked about last month. I think that made a little bit of difference as well with substitutes and whatnot, but I'll get into that. And the only other thing is at the next meeting in March, Vicki will be here from Lincoln to kind of talk. That's our last principal that hasn't had a chance to present to you guys yet. CASB has sent out some more policies, so they'll be coming as well. And then we'll be taking hopefully care of all the certified and classified staff at that meeting to get that taken care of. And the hope would be where you said, I hope the legislatures are hurry and they get especially the school budget in place. Boy, if they could do that in April, that would certainly help everything that we've got going here when we have an idea of what kind of money we have. So that's all I have unless you have some questions for me.
Thank you. So next would be a report from our Chief Financial Officer, Tony.
Good evening. I'm going to start with an update on the audit. It's been a little stressful for me because we didn't make our deadline. We have extensive testing that is required with all of the COVID money that we got. And as soon as I found out we were not going to make our deadline, I contacted CDE and explained our situation. They were more than understanding. They were very kind. They said, anything we can do to help you, contact us, just keep us posted. So the other good news for me was that they don't impose a fine for late filing. They kind of keep us on a checklist that we're not done. But I can assure this board and the public that next year will be a different story. And I've learned an awful lot through this process. And it's been very stressful for me to have missed that deadline, and I take it extremely serious. So whenever they ask for something, they get it back right away. And we're working diligently to get it finished. And it will be right because they don't cut corners. I mean, that's one of the things we knew when we hired them is they're very thorough, and so they're not just going to rush it through and slam an audit out. They're very particular that it's correct. So that's the update on the audit. Any comments or questions on that before I do financials?
No, but thank you.
Yes, thank you. I was just going to ask, who's the company that's doing the audit?
Moss Adams.
Okay, thank you.
So what's the timeline on that then?
They haven't given me an exact one because we ran into a grant that is over $750,000, which requires additional testing. We're moving through that as fast as we can, and so I just, like I said, I'm available 24/7 for them. If they need me on the weekends, I'm here. We're just going to get it done as quick as we can. So I will keep you all posted. Anything else on that? All right, January financials. I just had a couple of comments. Looking at page 1 for general fund, if you look at the year-to-date revenues in excess deficiency of expenditures, the actual year-to-date is a negative 2.3 million. I've mentioned it before that happens because of the timing of property taxes and when we receive them. And so we'll start receiving them in a large portion in the next couple months, and that'll sort of even that out. One more thing I was going to point out, if you look down in the allocations section, it's about halfway down. We've already allocated $600,000 to the insurance and $500 to the preschool. We have some additional allocations that need to be made before the end of June, and I've got those on my radar. We need to allocate $519,000 into the capital reserve fund, and an additional $200,000 for insurance, and another $92,920 for the preschool. The preschool allocation is calculated based on the October count. So that's how we come up with the allocation for that one. Looking at page 4, which is the cap reserve fund, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out that if you go to the very bottom, the cash balance at the end of January was $324,000. If we had that 519 that we allocate in there, we'd have a total of $843,000 to work within our cap reserve. So that just wanted to clear that up. And then my last comment is on page 7 for the food services fund. Speaking of COVID money, if you look on that third line, federal revenue, we've been getting a lot of food revenue for COVID-related things. The downside of that is there's a lot of restrictions and there's a lot of difficulty in getting the foods that they're wanting to get. So it's been a little stressful in the food world, but that's why it looks, we have a revenue in excess of 297 at this point, where we budgeted about a loss of 74,000. It's the difference in revenue, and you really don't know when they'll just come out with a grant and say, here, you want this grant, and then you fill it out and you get the grant. And so, at this point, the fund is healthy for the food service. It's just been the supply. The other thing is, now that the suppliers know we're getting extra money, they've raised the prices. So I don't know that it kind of just balances out.
So Tony, are we still under the federal thing where the kids are getting free breakfast and lunch?
Which we kind of discussed that this week. I was talking to Carol and I think one of the candidates about how kids are getting so used to not paying for lunches that when we turn that around, I think it's going to be a real ouchy thing. So, I think that's probably coming on board next year maybe, because I can't imagine they're going to continue to pay for lunches. But just something to have on the radar.
Well, on the downside of that, our free and reduced lunch count has gone way down, which is not a good thing because that's how you get federal funded. So if you're getting the free meals all the time and now people are not applying for the free and reduced, and we go from 80% down to 60, now it's looking like, oh, you don't have this. So that's just another issue along with that we're going to have to
So
work on.
registration will have to make a big deal.
Didn't I see somewhere where they're trying to extend the free lunch?
There is, I think, some legislation out there to extend it, but if not, we're going to.
Yeah, eventually if that runs out, it's going to be a little corner to turn with, a mindset there. So that's all I had for comments.
Thank you. Next, we have a report from the Human Resources Director, Dr. Childers.
Good evening. We are entering the beginning of hiring season. So 2 weeks ago, we did a virtual fair with the American Association for Employment and Education. We'll attend the UNC fair in person this year. Colorado Christian will be a part of that fair as well, and CASPA, the Colorado Association of School Personnel folks. They put on a fair at the beginning of April. We'll do that one as well. So we've got a number of recruiting opportunities coming up, and I think we've got some of our folks that we know about who may be changing positions. This time of year is always a question mark because folks are out shopping, but they haven't told their principal or their administrators that they're necessarily shopping. So we kind of wait with a little bit bated breath this time of year to see just exactly how many openings we're going to have. Last year it ended up being close to 50. Hopefully this year we will have less, knock on wood. I think if we're able to do some things with salary to increase that incentive, changing insurance has been well received by staff, and so hopefully that'll help keep folks here as well. So we'll see how it plays out, but we're in the thick of it at the moment. We do have a posting for our special ed director position. Our special ed director has let us know that she's accepted a position in the Southwest near Durango, and so that position is open, and we'll keep it open until we have 3 or 4 applicants, and then we'll run a process. And I've been working with Randy on what our process will look like, and I think we both agree that we'll figure out how to have our new superintendent involved in that process in some way. So we haven't quite figured out just where exactly, but we'll get his input for sure. And finally, we've got a number of folks who are administrators in the district going through a threat assessment training. And so one of the things that we have seen coming back from COVID is kids just really struggling. And one of the tools we have in our bag are threat assessment processes and protocols and suicide watch protocols, suicide assessment protocols. So this group is going through a training to be able to help out and assist with kids that are struggling in that area. So a couple of those things. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are the discussion items. The first is the 2022-2023 calendar.
Okay, so I'll kind of give you an update because they had it at the board meeting last year. Last meeting, somebody came up and talked to us. So we put a calendar committee together. First meeting went well. We had 2 representatives from each different school come and go around the room and say, what are your priorities? What do you want to look at? We talked about, and I think we ended up with the original calendar plus 2 other options. I said, take that back to your schools, talk about it in your schools, what they feel is the best. And I think probably the best way to settle is we'll just vote this next meeting. And I said, even worst case scenario, if we can't decide, I kind of told the board I had till the 21st to get everything in place. And came back, had a discussion again, and I think kudos to the calendar committee. They did a great job in their schools as far as going back and asking, and talking about things. And like anything else, it wasn't a unanimous vote, and I don't think there ever would have been. But I think with this new calendar that came up, it seemed like they were agreeing with, and they understood, especially with Christmas, every now and then, it just falls at a weird time. And this next year is one of those years. So I think when the meeting was over, and I had Bev there because she's so good at keeping everything organized, I think everybody understood and was in that this was a calendar we're going to go with next year. The only caveat that I said is I kind of had a little bit of an issue with MCC running our calendar. I don't think we should, especially when we're the biggest player in that, have MCC tell us when spring break's going to be. So my recommendation to the superintendent next year is to sit down with MCC and Wiggins and Brush and maybe Weldon Valley and try to work together on a date that everybody can agree on instead of one doing it, and then if they don't go along with it, now you have an issue with it. So.
Well, it's kind of interesting because CCD is not aligned with MCC. I don't get that because they're both the Colorado Community College system, so I don't get why we have different.
And I could speak a little bit to that, is that MCC talks with Brush and Wiggins, and that was what they had already, those 2 school districts had decided, and so they went with that because our school district hadn't, we'd done the 2-year plan and they didn't, but they went with the most school districts that would align.
See, and if they'd have gone with the most personnel or the most students that go there, that's my argument. We're the big player here, and they should kind of.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that there needs to be a better communication line, and that just hasn't existed since COVID started. And I agree with your assessment, too, that we don't need to do a 2-year calendar. We need to do a year-to-year calendar so those discussions can happen.
Well, and I think especially with spring break, if we get all of our areas of schools and MCC to agree upon that, then you can do your calendar, Christmas break, whether or not you take President's Day, Martin Luther King Day, all those days off can be an individual district decision.
Yeah, and I don't think that would be an issue.
Yeah, but anyhow, I think other than that, and that's one of my notes, that we told the calendar committee, please try to stay the same next year. So you're the same group kind of working together, and I will give that to the new superintendent so they have those thoughts.
Thank you for honoring that process. I think the staff really appreciated the voice, and I know it took time on you, but.
No, it was worth it. It was good meetings. I enjoyed the meetings.
Okay, next on our discussion items is
Oh,
substitute.
I had a couple of quick questions.
Sorry, go ahead.
On the calendar, I noticed that Lincoln and the high school were graduating the same day. Does that mean that Lincoln is going to be, it's going to be one graduation?
No, that's wrong.
I was going to say Lincoln's
I
always
did-
on
no,
Friday.
it's-
And then I also noticed that the end of the school was the 21st, which is graduation day on a Sunday.
Graduation is on a Sunday,
Right, but,
but Lincoln's is wrong. Lincoln's, I believe was the 5th, so that was my mistake.
okay. And then end dates, it says K-11 ends on May 21st, which is Sunday.
Sure enough, thank you.
So Bev, would you just send that to us when you get it all corrected?
Yes.
Thank you.
So when is the last day of school?
The 28th. Oh, wait, I'm looking at April. The 26th.
26th.
Right
Okay.
before Memorial Day.
Okay, so the 26th, okay.
Thanks.
So the 2 things that are different is Lincoln's graduation and the end of school for
Correct.
K through 11,
Right.
Yeah, 26th.
26.
Okay.
And you said Lincoln is May 5th?
I believe it's May 5th. I'll confirm that with, Vicki sent me an email, so I will confirm that. and put the right date.
Okay. I just didn't know if they were gonna do
Oh,
a
thank you.
blind graduation or.
I've looked at this too much.
I'm always looking at the wrong year when I look at calendars. Okay, was that it, John?
Yes, that was it, sorry.
No, no problem. Didn't mean to hurry you along, I just lost my place now. All right, there we go. So, second discussion item, substitute pay for classified substitute staff.
That's probably me again. When I talked about this last time, when I was taking a look at certified, I certainly was not my intention to forget about classified, because trust me, they are vitally important. And so what I did was sit down to Bev and try to say the same type of increase, the same percentage. And keep in mind, it's from here till the end of the year, because I know, Rob, you had a question as far as the cost of these and what it's going to take. So what we can do is at the end of the year say, okay, here's here's how much additional dollars it cost us. Then again, so it's been a third of the year or something like that. But I just think, if we're going to do it for classified. And as I went around, it was interesting. I got a chance to talk to all the secretaries, because I didn't actually take the tours as they were going around. So it gave me a time. They kind of got tired of me by the third candidate. But I asked them about the substitute and if that was making a difference to have that. And they said, yes, it's not taking care of everything, but it's helping. And again, I think that they said the same thing applies to classified staff, that they are important as well. So that's my rationale for bringing this to this board meeting.
And I have to say, I really like that you delineated the positions in that chart, because I just think that really, it's beneficial for me.
Okay.
Okay, I like that. I don't know that I've seen that before.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, next we have consent agenda. In front of us, we have the personnel action report and claims list of checks for January 2022. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move we approve as presented.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Aye.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith.
Aye. Next, we will go to action items, and the first one is the 2022-2023 calendar. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Could you also say, oh, sorry.
Move to approve the 22-23 calendar.
With the changes.
With the changes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Graduation for Lincoln is the 12th.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Aye.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith.
Aye. Next, we have the action item for substitute pay for classified substitute staff. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move to approve that we increase the pay for our substitutes for the classified staff in the situations that those were applicable for. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. Is there any discussion?
Stereo.
Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Aye.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith.
Aye. Next is action item C, which is the 2022-2023 renewals and non-renewals of administrators. What is the pleasure of the board?
I would move we approve the contracts as presented.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I'm questioning Clint's because he's out there, but no.
I don't remember having a discussion about this one.
Because they showed up.
Do we have a line item veto here?
Yeah.
Is there any other silly discussion or not silly discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Aye.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith.
Aye. And next, we have action item D, which is a donation from Mr. Kelly Ewing for our Fort Morgan Middle School wrestling team. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move to approve the acceptance of the donation from Mr. Kelly Ewing for our middle school wrestling team.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No, just that was very generous
It was
donation.
Very
Very
generous.
generous.
Along with the anonymous one as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yep.
All right. Roll call, please.
Chris Brown,
Aye.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smits.
Aye. Next, we have several newsletters, which always make me smile when I read them. Then advanced planning. The next board meeting is not until March 21st, unless we decide we need an executive session for negotiations. Spring break is March 14th through 18th, and the April board meetings are April 4th and 18th. We might end up having a work session, but we'll be in touch about that.
Well, and that's what I forgot during my report. I am,
That's right.
as long as you guys are okay, because we talked about Casby coming in doing a kind of a thing with the board. If you're okay, I will contact the lady, and then when we have our March 21st board meeting, I'll have her give me 3 or 4 dates, and then bring that to your attention at the 21st. So that was what I forgot there. And then probably in April, anytime in April, after we get the budget, we'll definitely need a work session to talk about budget and where we're at and what we're looking at, even really before we get in negotiations. So we'll probably have a couple at least before the end of the school year. That works for you guys.
Killing me, Smalls.
I know.
And I can tell you that even if Casby doesn't want to come in and do training, I'm sure Randy Zelo would want to. I think he's going to move back here. I'm not really sure.
He liked you guys just too much, see?
He did. He is our option
He was
Z
awesome.
as well. So that is it, except for adjournment. So we're going to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who was it?